So there we are zooming out. That is the bank, the side of the bank that we're on, obviously. And just to give you an idea, those lions are in here, to the middle of our picture. Somewhere around there, in that grass there. So this one's set slightly lower on the bank, which of course makes it much more difficult to see. So that's the story with the lions. Hopefully they'll come out, perhaps have a drink a little bit later. We might be able to get a view of them doing that. In the meantime, I believe Tristan has now got a small zazu bird for you.
I'm a small razzle bird now because it flew away. It all went pear-shaped, as James was linking. It was perfect in the golden light on an open branch, and well, then disaster struck, and the bird flew and dive-bombed away from us. So poor Seb was left stranded with the blue sky and an open branch. So that's why you saw my face and not a bird. Well, at least there's one cat out this afternoon. Hopefully we'll be able to find a cat on our side. It seems as though James has done it without even having to move from the comfort of his office, and is one-eyed too, which means that we really need to pull up our socks, Taylor and I, because, well, we can't let the one-eyed man beat us when it comes to finding cats, can we now, Seb? No, we can't. So we shall have to try our very best, and if not a cat, well, a wild dog will also do. So we're going to try and head back to where Taylor had her dogs this morning and see if I can't find some sort of sign of them. I was just listening to an update on the radio that in Buffelshoek, Torchwood area, they had tracks for a pack of wild dogs, but it seems as though those tracks were for many wild dogs, not just 3. It sounds like for lots, so I'd imagine that must be the Investec pack. But the Investec pack, as far as I last heard from Grant, was that they were denning on the far western boundary of Kruger, which I suppose is possible if they are on a morning or evening hunt. If it's full moon time, they do often hunt at that time, and it's possible that they ran all this way and have gone back towards the den site. But that would be quite a nice surprise to have a nice big pack of wild dogs around, because, well, I'd resigned myself to the fact that we were pretty much going to see just those 3 for the next few months while the denning season is on, because this is what happens, is when wild dogs den, they're pretty localized to that area. They don't move nearly as much as they would outside of the denning season, and so the chances of us seeing the Sands pack or the Investec pack, given where their dens were, was very unlikely. So nice to see that the Investec pack is running into this area and moving. And I was asking Grant the other day how far they do move, and he was telling me, just got to be careful of some branches, we're good. He was telling me that they will often run 5-6 k's from the den, which is, and when I say k's, I mean kilometers. I must remember that we need to think about what we're saying, but he was saying 5-6 kilometers from a den to go and hunt and back, which is quite far actually as the crow flies. We often think of it as in terms of traveling on a road, but remember, these animals often walk straight or run straight, and that means that it's a lot quicker for them to get that way. Now, I've dropped into the Mulawati for 2 reasons. One is because it's beautiful. Isn't that amazing? In the afternoon light, you've got, not only do you have the white river sand, but you've got these towering trees on either side and beautiful golden light that hits our eastern bank with these magnificent leadwoods and these nice knobthorns, jackalberries, scotias. It's just really pretty to drive through here. So that's the first reason why we're down here, because, well, I just decided after seeing the concrete jungle for a night, I needed the most beautiful part of nature to remind me of just why I don't enjoy the concrete jungle, and to reaffirm my reasonings for it. And the second reason is because I have a funny feeling maybe Thandi Utamba is here. I don't know why, I just do have this feeling that maybe one of those 2 sneaky little leopards is sitting in the Mulawati, and we know that Thandi and Utamba have both spent a lot of time in the Mulawati of late, and that's why I'm coming. And when you get these feelings out in the bush, you should trust your gut and just come and have a look. So that's why I'm doing it. Also, there's a third reason which has just come out right now, and it is one of my favorite birds to find down here. Oh no, don't fly away. There was a brown-hooded kingfisher in the most perfect light, but it flew away. Okay, so Seb says he thinks he might have seen it land. I just need to go forward slowly. You just say when, Seb. So we're going to roll. Oh, there, I did see where it flew. This is a shy kingfisher. It's not going to be one that's going to like being on the camera, but we'll try and see if we can find it. And of course, all the time we're just keeping an eye out for our leopards too. Where did you go? I saw it dive into this thicket here. As you can see, it's quite dense. These are all tamburtis that you're seeing as we're going past. No, I don't see it, Seb. Alas, it has flown away, which is the way things go. It's one of the things about birding is a very rewarding thing, because often it takes a lot of effort to find this little bird. Now, I've been trying to see a certain bird in Kruger for the last few months, and it keeps evading me, and it's a very rare bird, so there's a lot of attention on it. And every time, the day before I go, it's seen in the same place, and I go there and it's not there. Then the day after, it's back again. So I'm really having a struggle with that. And that's the thing about birding, is it becomes addictive, because you try and find these things and then they disappear, and because they've got wings, they often go long distances, and then you have to try and find them again. So hopefully I'll see my bird looking for in Kruger. In fact, there's two of them. One is called an African skimmer, and the other one is a Egyptian vulture. So those are the two that I'm looking for, which I shall show you when you come back to us. But in the meantime, Taylor has managed to gremlins away again and has found some signals. So let's go here. Well, you're back with me because Taylor lost signal, unfortunately. Now, I might lose signal if I don't do a detour, so I'm going to do a slight detour around the arch that is in the riverbed, because otherwise I have to drop my aerial down, and that's going to mean that, well, we too will lose signal. So rather than that, I'm going to do a slight little off-roading experience, and you never know, maybe we see something from up here that we wouldn't have seen from down there. That would be nice. Which way did we go? Down this way is where we went. So I was talking about my skimmers and vultures. Now I'll show you quickly when I get down from all of this and dodge all the elephant holes that are around. So there we go. Now I'm going to show you what our two birds look like, because they are very rare for the Kruger system. They're not ones that are seen very often. Now, vultures, where are you? There you are. No, not on that page, not on that page. On that page. There we go. Alright, so this is the Egyptian vulture, which is the one that I really want to see, because this bird, well, is very difficult to see. I will show you the distribution map shortly, but it is a white vulture with a yellow face. Now, this is not the one that's actually being seen at the moment. This is the adult bird. What's being seen at the moment is this juvenile bird that you see here with the sort of bare face skin and then these legs. And the identifying feature for this bird, and why it's actually been sort of identified rather than a hooded vulture, because it looks very similar to a hooded, which I'll show you just now, is that it's got this very diamond-shaped tail. You see there, it's got that very long sort of diamond-shaped tail that you see, and so that's how they're able to ID it very quickly. If I show you what the hooded vulture looks like, I turn the page back, there's the hooded vulture juvenile. You can see it's very similar. It has a similar sort of shape and beak structure, but the tail is very different. So the tail down here at the bottom, sorry, I'm trying to point without the book folding, but you see the tail very much more rounded and not diamond-shaped at all. So the Egyptian vulture is the one that I'm looking for, and hopefully we'll find. And there is its map. Now, when we have birds here in South Africa, when you have a map, you normally have green covering that map. As you can see there, those red crosses are the only sightings of this bird in that have been recorded. So there's not even a distribution for them. It is just single sightings dotted around South Africa, and mostly the north sort of eastern corner of South Africa, which is where we are. But still not very many. I count only 4 crosses in that area. So that's the one. Now the other one, I'm going to try and find it quickly, Seb. Let's see if it's probably going to be better to use the index for this. Skimmer. Now, skimmers are a beautiful bird and are common in other parts of Africa, just not so much here down in South Africa. And in fact, this pair of skimmers that is being seen at the moment is only the second pair to have ever bred in this area. So it's a pretty interesting one to have, and the fact that they're breeding has caused a big stir. But that's our African skimmer. It is a beautiful bird. It's white and black with this long beak that comes down that is orange and yellow, and you can see why it's called a skimmer. So they fly along, and that's how they hunt, is by putting their beak, which is longer on the bottom, into the water, and then they scoop up whatever they can find on the surface of the water and then up and fly away. But isn't that a pretty bird? Very, very cool. So that's another one, as you can see by the distribution map. That does not occur very much here in South Africa. In fact, there is no red cross in the Kruger Park yet because, well, they were never seen in the Kruger Park until this year. And so those are the two birds that I keep going and looking for. But alas, they've been eluding me, and so maybe we have to hope that they might come down here towards Djuma. Imagine that. The Egyptian vulture is not far at all. The Egyptian vulture is actually about, I would say, from here as the crow flies, not even 50 kilometers north of us, so it's actually not far at all, and as far as vultures are concerned, very close. Now, before gremlins attack me in the Mulawati, I believe Taylor is back with us and is actually able to talk to all of us, so let's go and see what stories she can tell us for a second time.
Well, Tristan, seeing as though you've been chasing after the Egyptian vulture and it's been eluding you, I feel that way about the ostriches of the Sabi sand, because guess whose footprints I have on, what road am I on now? On Zoe's road. Ostrich tracks going straight towards Philemon's cut line. Now I'm pretty sure that I drove here this morning and there were no such tracks, so this ostrich is pesky. Where are you, you big bird? I so badly want to find one. I'll be so happy if we can to, that's a termite mound. I'm also spotting things as we go, and it's the perfect area around here because there's nice big open spaces. The tracks are still just on the left hand side of the road, and I can't remember seeing any tracks crossing out. I've now driven Gowrie Main and Triple M a couple of times, well, mainly Triple M. I think I've driven that twice, 3 times already this afternoon. But let's just carry on and see if we can get towards Philemon's cut line and if the tracks are still through here. That's amazing. This bird it's just avoiding us completely, and we drive these areas all the time and they're on top of this morning's tire tracks. I mean, Craigie, you can show them. They're those ones that are just on the left hand side in the road. Megan says maybe go a little bit over here. If you look at my finger, is that one? That is one over there. Go there a little bit to the right, yeah, and then if you go straight in. Oh, my bad. Okay, well, there is an ostrich track over there, but let's keep going. Megan says that maybe somebody's trying to play tricks on me. Well, good effort. Definitely get 150% for effort, because to go walk around the sands with an ostrich footprint and stamping it on the ground, it's a great prank. Fantastic prank. I'm sad that I didn't think of it, but I want to find it. Still going along the road. Please let us find the ostrich. That would be so cool. I'm hoping for a male ostrich too, just because they're a lot prettier than the girls with their beautiful black and white plumage. But let's see. Still going on the road. Silver, you said that you really hope that I find my ostrich. Me too. I'm so excited. I mean, I know you see them every now and then in the Mara, but it just would be such a special sighting, seen as though the last one was seen 2 years ago on my birthday. No, not 2 years ago. 2016, so last year on my birthday, sorry, on the 28th of August. And I'm just scanning as well. Where are those tracks gone? So yeah, I took my eyes off the road for 2 seconds. And now I don't know where those footprints have gone. Marissa, you've said that apparently there is a pair of ostriches on the dam cam at Pete's Pond. You said there's they sort of frequent that area. That's very cool. Well, I don't have ostrich tracks anymore. Now I'm trying to think if they went down this way. Perhaps we're going to have to check the new road, because I have already done Philemon's cut line. Yeah, let's go into the new. Imagine on the. Oh my goodness, just imagine this. Now I'm getting so excited over here. This is probably not going to happen. Standoff between Shadow and her cub and an ostrich on the new road. Wouldn't that be fantastic? That would be the sighting of the year. I want to make sure the tracks. I don't know what I just drove over. I have to go back. Oh no, now there's so much dust I won't be able to see anything on the road. Giraffe? Okay, no ostrich track. Okay, Craigie, eyes peeled, okay? Keep those eyes wide open. Who knows? Please be an ostrich around the next corner. They don't really mind the terrain, though. They prefer open areas, but you know, living in the eastern Cape of South Africa, where it's the Albany thicket biome, it's so dense. You take the densest area we have here in the sands and times that by 10, and that's the density of the bush, and prickly as well, super prickly. Lots of acacias and things like that have got all sorts of mean and nasty.
Well, it seems like wherever the ostriches have gone, Taylor's following and gremlins are following behind that, and so hopefully Taylor will be lucky enough to find them, and I hope she doesn't have to go all the way to Pete's Pond in Botswana to find these ostriches. Imagine if they had walked that far. That would have been traumatic. It would be a long way to track a set of ostriches. So, and we do need Taylor back this side. She is, of course, a vital component of our entertainment, and so for her to track all the way to Botswana would mean that we probably wouldn't see her for about 3 weeks before she got back again, so we'll have to veto that, and hopefully they've stayed on Djuma and are somewhere that Taylor will be able to find them. Now, ostriches generally like open sections, so maybe they'll be on quarantine. Wouldn't that be cool? If she comes out into quarantine and there's 2 ostriches walking around, that would be very cool. So apparently Taylor thinks I'm challenging her to go to Botswana. No, not at all, Taylor, because, well, I know that you'll go to Botswana tomorrow if you wanted to. So I'm not challenging you. I was rather merely stating that hopefully your ostriches haven't gone to Botswana, because otherwise you're in for a very long tracking session as you make your way all the way there. And hopefully that you will find your ostriches up ahead of wherever you are now. That's all I was trying to say. But a Botswana mission would be quite cool. It would be very nice to go to Botswana. It's a beautiful country, and it's got amazing wild destinations as well. In fact, some of my favorite places are there, and I've been fortunate enough to have traveled there, which is a very, very pleasant part of the world. And I'm just slowly meandering along Gowrie Main in hope that our wild dogs pop out of the abyss and into the road in front of us. There was no sign, unfortunately, of any leopards in the Mulawati. I checked very nicely, and seems my feeling has eluded me today, but it was worth a try anyway. It's, like I say, one of those areas that you never know. Maybe you'll be able to bump into something, and one day my feeling will be right there and I will find a leopard in the Mulawati. In fact, since I've been in Safari Live, I am yet to see a cat in the Mulawati drainage system from the anywhere lower than Chelapan. I've seen 1 or 2 in the top section closer to Gowrie Dam, but nothing from Chelapan southwards. Right, well, I'm going to get down towards Chitwa Dam for some water. It seems like James is gazing upon the ever picturesque Mara River, and so let's go across to him and see how he's doing and what's showing itself on his river cam.
What I'm looking at is, yes, the ever-picturesque Mara Reservoir and the seemingly ubiquitous yellow-billed stork. Lonely fellow he must be. He seems to be alone most of the time. Poor thing. I hope that he finds a friend. Now, Steph, of course, watched this very fellow catch a finch the other day, so let's watch him. I'll tell you a little bit about him while we watch his antics there. Let's see what I can find for you. Oops. No, sorry, this thing has developed again a mind of its own. No, I am not pushing you that way. There's nobody in the final control moving it for me, are there? Trying to mess with my chi, as it were. Apparently it's just the bungee cord that has messed with my chi today, and that it has done. Righty, I just want to find out exactly what it eats. Well, unsurprisingly, fish, we know that. Frogs sometimes, when it can get them. Aquatic insects, worms, and crustaceans. In other words, crabs. So basically, these things seem to eat almost exactly the same thing, but I imagine they're slightly different shaped beaks. For example, the storks and herons, not very closely related. I imagine that they must be eating slightly different prey species. Otherwise, how on earth would they manage to survive? Now remember, hashtag #SufferyLive is how you get hold of us to ask us your questions or send us your comments. Tell us how excited you were or would be to see a crossing. If you did watch any of the crossings this morning or this afternoon, I'd love to know how they made you feel. They certainly leave me feeling very mixed in many ways. I feel sad for the animals that were knocked off. I feel... what else do I feel? I feel exhilarated. I mean, they're definitely exhilarating to watch. And to watch a little zebra foal sticking its snout out of the water trying to survive, very difficult. Now, C-Mac, you say, he seems so lonely. Do I think he wants a friend? Well, the thing with being a bird is, C-Mac, that you can fly away and find a friend at any time that you want to. So either he's very happy being alone, and they are often found alone, in fact, or perhaps he's just not very nice. He just hasn't got any friends. I'm just looking here. They are monogamous, but they will be found in heronry. So I mean, they can be found breeding in colonies with other birds, like herons, for example. Found singly, but more often in pairs. There you go. Nomadic in response to water levels and fish availability. And a very interesting fishing technique that he has. It really must require a remarkable amount of patience. I often think, rather like with a professional sportsman, say somebody who plays cricket, for example, which I love, I think is a wonderful game, I often think that you either have to be fairly gormless to play it full time because you spend a lot of time just standing around, or, and this is probably most likely the case, you have a very quiet mind that you're able to sort of switch off and become very zen-like during the endless periods of waiting like this stork is doing. But he's then bird waiting to find his fish, doing the same thing, poke in, poke out, poke in, poke out, poke in, poke out. Now you want to know, Blue Raptor, if these storks are bigger or smaller than a marabou. They are most certainly smaller. They're certainly not as heavy. They're 98 centimeters tall, apparently. I mean, that's a very specific number, so I suspect they're somewhere between 1 meter, which is 3'3", and probably just under that, so just under 3'3". I will tell you that the marabou, if I can find him on my very special bird app, sorry everybody, there we go. I'm just trying to find the marabou on my app. And it's coming up. Oh dear, this is very difficult to do two things at once, especially when the camera is taking on a mind of its own. The marabou is almost 1.5 times the size. So marabou is 1.5 meters tall, which is about 4.5 feet. So it's pretty tall in comparison. Now the sun is starting its inexorable march down towards the west, and that of course is changing the sky. Let's go to Maine South if we can. Not Rebecca, Louise. Louise is doing the directing today. Now this is where we saw the lions earlier. Let's wonder, just pop in there and see if they haven't come out. You can see the sky is starting to get a bit of definition and contrast in it, which is quite fun. And the lions were in here somewhere. Alas, to find out Tristan, who has got, well, mosque swallows apparently.
We do indeed, James, which is a little bit of a surprise for me because mosque swallows generally are a migratory bird for the summer months. They're not always, they can be residents, but a lot of the time they will migrate, particularly in this northern region. So it's not common to see them at this time of the year, more summer bird, but they are beautiful. They've got this rusty red coloration on the chest and on the back with dark blue wings and then that very pale throat. So it's a really nice bird to see, and for the winter bird list is a fantastic record. So really good that they're here, and now that they are around, I pretty much reckon we'd find them most days if we came at this time of the day towards Chitwa Dam. Beautiful little birds though. You can see they just grooming themselves, getting ready for their nighttime hunt, which they normally do at this time as the insects start lifting off the water in the late afternoon, and then they'll go and roost somewhere after that. Now unfortunately we had a fish eagle just come flying past us in a whizzing motion, but it had something in its hand, so we managed to get a photo of it, which I'll try and show you now quickly. But it was eating a fish, which is really cool. So we know the other day when Taylor was here, it had a bird in it. So if you have a look there, we can see that it's got a tilapia. So that's as it flew past quickly. Unfortunately, I've just lost the picture. Just hold on. We'll have to zoom into it a little bit again. But there is the fish in the talons of the fish eagle as it came past. So it's got half a fish, and hopefully it will come back to this area. But I have a theory, because it came bombing over my head, and the time that I have spent here in Chitwa, when sometimes you can see it from here. I'm going to try and see from the dam wall. We used to be able to see it, and I wonder if these fish eagles don't have little brand new chicks that they're starting to take their in. I presume that is the case, and that's why it flew back in that direction, is to its nest to be able to see, to feed the little ones. Now unfortunately gremlins are going to attack us through this little dip, so we're going to get to the other side. Before we do that, let's go quickly across to James.
Too many gremlins in the ether, There we have some sacred ibis. Wonderful. Now that's interesting. Let me just quickly description, everybody. Very nice. Yes, there are a few species of catfish that we find here. We find a number of carp species as well, and even a psyllid or two. But that is definitely a catfish. And now we will watch a live kill and devouring of one of the most whiskered creatures of the depths. Of course, this can be a fairly painful process because it takes a long time, A, for the feech to die, although this one looks fairly expired already, but also for the bird to crush up the bones a little bit and break up the scales a little, so that by the time it does eventually try to send it down its gullet, it isn't quite so difficult to swallow. Also, of course, you'll notice that it is trying to get the thing head first into its mouth. And that's very important, because to try and put it in tail first would result in getting stuck because of the way the scales are attached to the feech. Oh, wonderful. That's really very special. As we're watching this, let's see how long it takes for him to eat. I'll just zoom out a bit, give you a bit of movement. Hope the camera doesn't take on a mind of its own. You can see the two sacred ibis there, not particularly interested or impressed with the fact that their yellow-billed stalked friend has managed to catch a feech. I don't know why I'm saying feech and not fish. It's just a bit odd, I suppose. That's fantastic. It really is very nice indeed. Like I say, it is a slightly painful process. It takes for ages to go down. Stevie, you say this fish is pretty big. It's taking ages. Stevie, it is pretty big. It's not very big, though. I mean, they do get a lot bigger than that. Yeah, they get huge. And that one is, well, that's just that's a bit of a tiddler, actually. I've seen a catfish that is over 6 feet tall. Oh, down it goes. How delicious. That's interesting. PT Watcher, you say, would the catfish sting the stork in the same way that it stings you when you catch one? PT, I've never heard of a catfish stinging anyone before. I've been touched by them many times. I've yet to catch one. I can't believe this thing can possibly eat another one. So I don't know. I mean, I've never heard of a catfish stinging before. I'd really be very interested to hear how or why or when you have been stung by a catfish. I mean, if I thought I was going to be stung by one, I would never have gone to try and catch them last year when I did. Very interesting. Thank you for that information. And I wonder how often it happens. And perhaps, I mean, look, you get lots of different species of catfish, of course, so perhaps not all of them are nasty biters. Or stingers, should I say. All right, let's go from one flowing water body to one fairly stationary one. That's Chitwa Chitwa.
Indeed, we are still at Chitwa, and it is so spectacular here. It is beautiful in this late afternoon light. We've got the hippos taking it very easy, the scenic view across towards the lodge, and the light in the afternoon at this particular part of the waterhole is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite places to be, and I remember when I was working here, every time that I had an off afternoon, I used to come, and often with the manager that is there now, Steph, and we used to come sit actually in this area, and we used to just kind of look around and enjoy the view that there was. Now, there's some vehicles behind us that have also just come to have a look, and in the distance there, can you see the waterbuck that are drinking? The light on them is beautiful. I know it's very far, but it's just very pretty. So just straight in towards the lodge, a little bit to your left. There they are. Isn't that pretty? And the three of them in a row having a little drink, and that light is fantastic. Look how she's sniffing. So they're always a bit aware. And I've actually seen a waterbuck being killed right there by Mvula in that exact same place. So it is an area that they do need to be a little bit aware. You can hear Egyptian geese are coming past. But I don't want to spend too long here because I just spoke to Steph, who's, like I said, the manager here at Chitwa, and he told me that there is a nice sighting of a number of different birds of prey just on the other side of Chitwa itself. So I want to try and get there while we've still got some light and see if I can't find them. He said that there is a Battalier eagle and tawny eagles and a martial eagle, and martial eagle is one of my favorites. It's the largest eagle that we see here, so I want to try and get across that side. And he was saying that there might be a carcass somewhere there, so we're going to go and try and check, and maybe we'll get lucky with those birds coming down and having a late afternoon feed if there is a carcass. So let's go and have a little look. He said to me he's looking out for any signs of the dogs. They haven't come towards the dam this afternoon. They've been they were here this morning and then they moved off. And he said this morning was chaos because before the wild dogs, early this morning before we all got out on drive, as they were having their morning coffee, one of the Birmingham males was also here, and then the dogs arrived, and then the Birmingham went northwards into Torchwood, and the dogs, well, Taylor then found them after that. Now, I hope that we're not going to have any gremlins as we go through this little dip. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So we're going to risk it, and as they say, you've got to risk it to get the biscuit. So we're going to try and go through. Say you want the biscuit? Yes. Let's risk it. So the gremlins don't have time.
I believe we are live again. Right, crash cut. We're still looking at the same stalk. Sorry about that rather sudden movement away from Djuma. They are having a fairly insurmountable number of technical difficulties today. I'm sorry about that. I do apologize. Anyway, we're still at the same crossing with the same birds. I'm wondering if anything else is going to happen. Alrighty, I think we should go up top to the mountain camera to see what we've got from there. Oh, now, there we have the nuclear family. Let's have a look at them. As I mentioned yesterday, an unusual group of buffalo. They seem to have been joined by two uncles, but there are three. A bull, a cow, and a calf. By the Bushmen and very heavily used by them. Them and see how they go, crawling up towards where I'm actually sitting. While we do that, I believe that Tristan has found some signal and a large bird.
Sunlight at the moment, so I don't see any signs of the bateliers or the marshals that he was talking about, but there is a tawny eagle sitting on top. You can see, pretty typical of the tawnies, quite an upright posture that they've got. They often do sit like that with their legs quite straight and then the tail out almost perpendicular not perpendicular, at right angles, should I say, to the legs itself. So there we go. Now, he said to me that there was some sign of a carcass somewhere here, but I don't see anything. I wonder if these birds haven't polished it off in the time that we were kind of talking to him. But there it goes. It's just flying off into the distance. Also getting to that time of the day, if the birds have fed, that they're going to be a little bit nervous of hanging around here, or they're going to try and find themselves at least somewhere to roost. But I'm just going to check, because I'm trying to see if there's any vehicle tracks. I see some vehicle tracks going off here, so I just want to quickly have a little look as to what's going on. Now, this area always gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. Now, the heebie-jeebies are like a funny feeling, basically, for those of you who don't know, and the reason why they do that is because behind us, which I'll show you just now on our way out if I can't find anything here, is an area that during the 2012 floods that we had in this section, there we go, there's a carcass there. You see there, Seb? I'm going to go forward a bit because it'll probably be better. But there we go. There is what appears to be a dead steenbok. So for those sensitive viewers, maybe now's the time to look away. There's a few flies inside there, but it is dead, and I'm not sure what would have fed off it. There's no sign of any leopard around here or anything like that that I can see. And, well, birds of prey have all disappeared, and it looks as though it's something that's been kind of tucked in under bush. Maybe it is a leopard, maybe a skittish young leopard, who knows, Kuchava, Tumba maybe, I don't know. But it's also not been fed on like a leopard would feed. If you find when you get cats feeding off a carcass, and particularly leopard, they'll generally feed off that back end. So where the back legs are, they'll feed off there, and they'll feed their way forward and go all the way through to the head. You can see this one has been opened up by a bird of prey, and they've then fed from the front. They have a very different feeding style to what a leopard would. So they fed off the shoulder and the neck area, and if you actually go back towards the bum section and towards the rump, there you can see, look, where a bird of prey has actually pecked into that thigh muscle and has been able to open the coat out there. So it's been fed off by birds of prey. There's no visible signs of anything else. Difficult to say what could have caused this, but interesting nonetheless, and I'm pretty sure the hyenas are going to find this tonight, and they'll clean that up very quickly. That's a little sort of hors d'oeuvre for a hyena. That will go down very nicely indeed. So it's not going to be something that they're going to have lying around here still tomorrow, but it's definitely died probably early hours of this morning. What could be is that we had all of a sudden a cold snap. I was talking to Seb and saying that Johannesburg was very cold, and he was saying to me that it was very cold last night. And sometimes if you've got individuals of these smaller antelopes in particular, if they're a little bit weak in some way, maybe they haven't fed really well, or there's some sort of underlying issue, when a cold snap hits like that, all of a sudden you'll have a situation where they can then die of exposure. So it is possible that that could be the case, but I would imagine that it's probably more likely to have been a predator. Could have also been bitten by a snake. There's many options that could have happened. We also know wild dogs were here today. Maybe the lion interrupted the wild dogs when they killed this, but then the lion would have probably taken it. So difficult to think that a predator killed this and was chased off without another predator actually feeding on it. Well, we don't have any sign of any of the birds of prey that I was hoping to see, the martial eagle or the bateliers. We do have a picture of the sunset, but I believe Taylor has also got one. So let's go across to her while she's got some signal and see how her pretty sunset is going.
Well, we've been battling the gremlins most of the afternoon, but here we are. We're just off of Gari Main now, and Tristan, I think it's the same herd of zebra you had a little bit earlier today, so mind the power lines. But it is quite a beautiful scene nonetheless, with the orange sky just setting in the background, and then of course some zebras to go with it. Now there's quite a few heavily pregnant mares in this herd, which is quite good to see, of course, because we love to see little zebra foals, but there's no young foals in this group, which is a bit sad. It means that they obviously didn't make it from last year, because remember, well, anything in the equus family typically gives birth once a year, and their gestation period is just shy of a year or so. So that's a little bit sad, but it's okay. They'll be fine. They'll manage, they'll have some more, and hopefully the lions won't get them. I suspect that it must have been between could be three things: lion, hyena, and I suppose the big male leopards in this area would be able to take on a young zebra foal, even though some of the females could take on a young zebra foal too. And just in the background, a red-crested korhaan also singing its beautiful tune. But other than that, it's actually been fairly quiet out here. I found my ostrich tracks. They cross off and into Hoffman's, unfortunately, which was very sad. I must have just missed it. And then there was another update on the radio. It seems as though another pack of dogs was found. So, oh, sorry, Craig, I'm driving into a sickle bush. That's not very nice of me. Which hasn't been established which pack of dogs it is just yet, but it sounds like Torchwood going in towards the Kruger National Park. So maybe that pack of dogs that we saw this morning, maybe they're part of a bigger pack. I don't know though, because most of you had confirmed it as being the Lower Sabi breakaway pack. But who knows? I am listening on the radio to figure out how many dogs they've actually got there, but it's quite nice. So maybe something to look forward to tomorrow morning as well. Maybe they come back this way instead.
So we're still watching this beautiful sunset at the moment. Seb and I were just discussing our radio channels and how we're battling a little bit with our eastern channel. So he was just trying to figure out how it all works, because I was explaining to him the different channels that we do have. But it is still a beautiful afternoon here at Chitwa, and I was hoping that we were going to see more signs of the birds of prey coming down, and it would have been really cool to have seen them fighting over this, because you'll often find when you get tawnies and bateliers and martial eagles all together in the same place that you'll get a situation where there'll be quite a bit of fighting and competition around the carcass. But I think it's a little late in the day for those birds. They'll have gone now and tried to find somewhere to roost. And like I say, probably hyenas and things will come back. So we were just admiring the sun as it was going down behind this beautiful marula tree. And probably from here we're going to try and head towards the airstrip, because the airstrip itself is also a good place for the wild dogs to pop out. So I want to go and just check there and make sure that there's no sign of them. And hopefully we'll get lucky with something this afternoon. But isn't that spectacular? Well done, Seb. I like that. There's few better ways to finish a day than with the big orange orb of the sun going behind the horizon in Africa, and particularly from where we are now. It's just such a beautiful part of our traversing area. I always like spending time around Chitwa airstrip. It's got some spectacular views, and today it's a little bit sort of hazy because of the time of year that we're in. It's not only lots of dust that's been kicked up by the winds over the last few weeks, but a lot of these planned burns that have been going along, like what we saw yesterday with Taylor. And that causes a lot of smoke to be in the air, and so the Drakensberg mountains are not as clear as they would normally be. But normally you have a beautiful vista of the Drakensberg mountains that run from sort of north to south along our western boundary, and it can be some of the most beautiful views from up here. So it really is a nice place to stop and admire the last few rays of the day. Right, Seb, I think now that we've done that and we've enjoyed our view of the sunset, and we've discussed all things radio channels and tried to fix all things that are sort of to do with radio channels. Let's carry on and see what else we can find. And I believe James, and I don't know if I heard this correctly, has a petroleum incident that he would like to share with us.
Okay. Whoop, whoop. All right, everybody. There we have a rather interesting situation. There's a Russian in there, there's a Dutchman in there, and there is also an Askari. And you know they're not moving, and they're not moving. Not before they left this morning. That has got everyone into something of a temper around here, trying to find them something to put in the sconce. Let's leave. Report back on their rescue efforts. Scott is about to go down there, but there we have some warthogs running around. We have some baboons coming into shot there. That is the very famous and very beautiful olive baboon, I think the most beautiful of the baboon species. And I must just apologize for all the tech issues we've experienced today. Black screens from here, loss of picture from Djuma, not sure what's going on, but as you know, it does happen from time to time here. Look at this really astonishing plethora of life moving across the plains here. Zebra, topi, warthog, the most beautiful olive baboon, which of course we will try and get you a slightly better look at from time to time, especially in the forests around where we live. There they are. And we've also got zebra, of course, but they're a bit ubiquitous. This is not what one might describe as on the front of the snout of the crocodile, which you might consider to be nostrils, but they're not. The nostril is a rather attractive arrangement of scales on the top. Apparently we have too many gremlins to continue this. Let's head across to Tristan and his sunset. Keep breathing.
Well, we do have the sunset and a tawny eagle that is silhouetted against it. Isn't that beautiful? Bright oranges and the tawny just sitting there, a little wing stretch, a little grooming. I wonder if that's where it's going to roost for the evening. Wouldn't be surprised if it does. It's not a bad place for a big bird of prey to be sitting. It's in the open, there's no leaves around it, so if it does want to fly it can, and it also won't be too sort of in the way of any predators that might be able to climb. But there we go, that's our sunset with our tawny. There are worse views in the world, that's for sure. Very nice. Now I did spot our martial eagle as well. What I think is a martial eagle, just off to my right here, but we're not going to be able to. I can't show it until I get around the corner. So Seb, we should be able to see it fairly shortly. I'm just going to take this turn here, and hopefully it's going to stay still. Oh, no, now it's behind the branch. Okay, wait, let's see, Seb. I might be able to do this. Hopefully it won't fly away. Let's see. No. It wants to fly away. So you can just see its tail feathers sticking out at the back there. So there's our martial eagle. It's going to fly, I think. But it's a juvenile martial. It's not a fully grown adult. It hasn't. Is it a martial or is it a juvenile fish eagle? Oh, I can't see because I can't see the head. Now it's going to defecate. There we go. And that's generally a sign of a bird flying off. Once they defecate like that, it's almost like they're lightening the load before they take off. And it's quite common practice to see with birds of prey is before takeoff, a little defecation and then off they go. Now put your head on the other side so I can see. No, looks like a juvenile martial eagle. So this is a young one for the martial eagles. They generally have a brown back and brown head with a spotted white chest. And so this guy is still growing up, and they will get slightly larger than that. The adult martial eagles, I can't see nicely though. I'm not convinced. I need to look through my binoculars at this stage. Come on, point your head round again one more time so I can see you. There we go. Yes, it is a martial eagle, now that I can see it properly. So a young martial eagle. And this is not uncommon for martial eagles to be around carcasses, and I wouldn't actually be surprised. Now that I think about it, martial eagles are killers of steenbok. I have seen it before with my very own eyes on Chitwa, where a martial eagle came down. You can actually see, look how full its crop is as it flew away. It's got a massive crop, which means that it's fed quite a bit of that steenbok. And so I have seen martial eagles do this before, and they do take steenbok quite readily. They are big, powerful birds with massive talons, and they're able to grab what they need. So he's sitting just over there in that tree there, Seb, where my finger is, just there, over there. Yeah. So there we go. There, that tree there. There it sits. So there we go. So that's the martial, and hopefully it will turn a little bit and I'll be able to show you what I mean about its crop being very full. And so what they do is they'll come down and they grab these prey animals, particularly small mammals. That's what they go after, and a steenbok would be really the biggest thing that they can handle. And they'll fly down with such force that they break their backs, and then they'll sit there and feed off them. Now the martial eagle that I saw killing a steenbok managed to take it up into a tree, but it was an adult. This bird might have been a bit too young to be able to take it up the tree, and so dragged it under that tree where it knew it wouldn't be seen by things like vultures, and it could then readily feed off it without too much disturbance. And once then it arrived, things like tawnies and bateliers will come. So Harrison, you're asking if birds of prey would attack each other for control of areas. Not so much control of areas. They will go after one another out of dominance over a food source. So food items, like what we see here, the martial eagle being the largest between the batelier and the tawny. Look, there's that crop. See how full it is? Big bulge underneath the neck there. So that's what I was talking about just now, a little beak cleaning exercise. So not only is its stomach full, that crop almost acts like a second stomach that is packed with meat. And as it digests, so that will then go down towards that area. So what I was saying is that they won't compete for territory. They might compete for nest sites, and they might compete for food items, but other than that, not really. So you'll find it's always the biggest bird that will take over. So in the vultures, the lappet-faced is normally the most dominant at a carcass, followed by the white-headeds, and then the white-backed, and then the hooded. If cape are around, they sometimes outcompete the white-headeds, and then you'll find with the birds of prey, martial eagles will outcompete everyone because they're bigger than all the others. And then you'll have crowned eagles, black eagles, or Verreaux's eagles, what they now are called, and it'll go all the way down until your smaller ones. So it just depends on the size of the bird that will determine how dominant it is at a food item or in terms of available nesting sites. Just also remember that a lot of these birds use different nesting sites. I wonder if it's going to go back to that steenbok. It looks as though it's slowly flying back in that direction. We might sit here for a bit, because wouldn't it be cool to watch this martial eagle feed in IR? If we can go there and it doesn't take over and it doesn't take off, we might be able to put our IR on, and that means we don't have to affect this bird, but maybe it will go down and actually start feeding, which would be super cool, because I don't think we've got any footage of birds feeding at night, and it would be interesting to know if they do feed at night. I would suspect that they won't. Generally you'll find birds, particularly birds that are not scavengers, not feeding at night, but let's try and see. We'll just definitely stick around. It's worth it. It's not something we see every day, to see a large bird of prey on a small mammal carcass, so I'm going to sit and see from here. If it takes off and goes back towards that steenbok again, then we'll definitely try go around and follow. It seems like it wants to. It's very restless. You look how it's watching. It's checking where that carcass is to see if it can go down towards that area. So blue raptor, you're asking how big does this species of raptor get? Now I would imagine that you're asking in terms of its weight. If it's weight you're talking about, it can weigh just shy of 6 kilograms, so about 12 pounds, which is very heavy for a bird of prey. And in terms of its wingspan, it has a wingspan of 2.4 meters, which is between sort of 7 and 8 feet. So it's quite a large wingspan as well. And when it stands in a tree like that, its just shy of a meter in terms of its tail to its head, so that's about the size of it. It is a very large bird and hugely powerful. Isn't that cool? I just got an update that they said that they've just heard a leopard calling on Little Gari driveway. Now, I wonder if it's if you come north towards our side. I think on the way home after this whole ordeal plays out, or Taylor maybe, might want to go and check Shabamu pans around Gari Main, because if that leopard is mobile north, it will pop out on Gari Main in that area. And, well, if it's calling, I would imagine that it will be Tingana that is on a patrol, and we know how fast he can move, and he'll definitely be able to get into Djuma before the end of drive if it is him. Come on, bird, take one more flight closer, and then we'll go around back to where that carcass is. But it definitely is watching. You can see it's using that big eye that they've got just to see, is there anything there? Is there any hyenas? Is there any jackals? Anything that's got to worry about? Because remember, even at its large size, something like a hyena or a jackal would be a problem for this bird. And so they're just checking, making sure before it approaches once more. Also, we were just there with a car, and so I don't want to disturb it any more than we have to, and that's why I'm holding back from here, and I'm hoping that it will then start flying towards that direction. The interesting thing is I just don't know how much more meat it can fit in. It's got such a large crop as it is, and it seems as though it's been a glutton. Bless you, Seb.
Thank you.
Well, you're alright there. Bit of dust in the air, I think.
Maybe.
Megan says bless you as well.
Thanks, Megs.
So, Blue Raptor, you're asking if the male and female of this, I suppose of this species, because, well, there's lots of different raptors that we get in South Africa, but of this particular bird, do they have different colors, the male and female? So I'm going to show you in the book quickly that no, they don't. Adults are the same coloration, and then the juveniles are slightly different. So I was talking earlier about the difference in coloration. So this is our martial eagle here. It's got this beautiful brown back normally with this crest, big yellow eye, and the spotty front. So that's the adult coloration of both male and female. They look the same. And then this is what we're looking at currently, which is this sort of narrow tail bars, juvenile coloration, mottled wings, and then that whitish throat, and still a little crest. That what's what we're seeing on our bird over there. Now, I'm just trying to remember which one is which, but it's either I think it's the female that is larger than the male. Let me just quickly read here. And the wings mainly brown. Female larger than male. There we go. So the female is slightly bigger, but she's not in any way different coloration. Now, while we sit patiently with our martial eagle, it sounds like the Mara has had a few gremlins, and so they've decided to try and work those out and get them sorted because, well, it's the upcoming TV show this weekend, and so there's lots of preparation going into that. So they're going to have left us for the evening. So James sends his fondest goodbyes and hopes that you all have a lovely evening, and he's going to go and try and, I think, rest that sore head of his and hopefully be back to fighting force tomorrow. And as for Taylor, well, Taylor's still fighting gremlins of her own, so we're just going to try and see if our eagle will fly. It seems as though our eagle is just taking it very easy at the moment. It's not really wanting to go. I think it's concerned about the light that we've got at the moment. Blue Raptor, you want to know what the biggest bird is in the area that we're in? Well, is that bird that can fly or bird that can't fly? Because if it's bird that can't fly, Taylor was tracking them this afternoon, and that is the common ostrich that we are talking about. So that is the biggest bird that we get in this area. Not very often seen, but they are around. So there is the ostrich, but in terms of flying birds, we have what's called a Kori bustard. So I'm going to try and find the Kori bustard for you now. Where are you in the book? Sorry, I've got to try and remember all of these birds in the book now. I've gotten a bit rusty over the last few days. I don't know why. Maybe it's this trip to Johannesburg is clouding my ability to find birds in the book. I've used the same book pretty much throughout my life, and so I'm quite familiar of generally where things should be in the book. But for some reason today, I'm just drawing complete blanks as I try and find the birds that I'm looking for, which is no good. I thought it was somewhere around here. Okay, So, here we go. Alright. So, largest non-flying bird, quite easy to recognize. The ostrich, very big black sort of feathers or white tips to it, red, and that's the female over there and the little chick. Now, there was a pair seen yesterday at Chitwa Dam, funnily enough, and I know Taylor was tracking tracks yesterday and this afternoon, so I wonder if these two are not going to be present for a while. I have seen their tracks on Cheetah Cutline as well, so it makes perfect sense that they've come down towards Chitwa. I was saying that they like big open areas, so it's very possible. Now, in terms of the size of this bird, it can stand at 2 meters tall, and it weighs a whopping 80 kilograms as fully grown male. So really very large in terms of the largest bird here. Now, obviously this bird cannot fly. Look at the wing structure. It is a very sort of false wing almost. It's flabby. It's got no structure to it, and they would have to have massive wings to be able to lift the power, well, to have the power to lift 80 kilograms off the ground. So the bird that we do see that is the largest, which is not something we see very often, is called a Kori bustard. Now the Kori bustard will be able to weigh in at 18 kilograms, so that is a lot less. In fact, it is a quarter of the weight of the ostrich if fully grown, and this bird yet can still fly. So it's a lot smaller, but it has beautiful mottling. It has this brown back, white, and then this grey, and it has the most interesting way of displaying. So there is a little display over here on the book. You can see it lifts its tail like that, shows its white under feathers, and then it drops its wings and puffs its neck up, and it almost looks as though it's got a big fur sort of coat on when it does that, and that's how the male displays to the female to be able to attract her and mate with her. So it is a very cool bird, and we see a lot of these about, I would say, 50 kilometers north of us in the big open clearings of the central Kruger National Park, and then northwards, and then as you go up into the northern parts of the country, there really are quite a few of them. So a very cool bird. Unfortunately though, it's a bird that feeds on a lot of insects, and insects in this part of the world, or in fact in any part of the world at the moment, are a big threat to crop farmers, and so a lot of poisoning goes on, and that means that there's a lot of food that goes missing, and so these guys have really become quite restricted to game park areas, and you don't really find them outside of that. But those are the two largest birds that we see, both non-flight and flying. Our martial eagle has stayed still, it is not moving, and given that we do not actually have that much time to work with, I'm going to try and see if I can't start heading towards Little Gari side in case this leopard starts going north, because it would be quite a nice way to finish our day in the spots. Now, Seb, let's see. Oh no, wait, hold on. I think our bird might go. It's just defecated once more, and that's what happens when you overeat. You've got to go to the toilet more often. And so let's see, maybe it's going to fly off. We will go and have a look at that Steenbok one more time on our way back towards Little Gari side, but I thought maybe this bird might just take off. It was just lifted its sort of tail, and not much came out, but there was definitely some sort of defecation. Come on. Now, excuse me if you hear a zip sound. It is starting to get a bit chilly here, so I'm putting on a jersey because I don't have long pants on at the moment. Come on, off you go. It's just watching. It's ever so circumspect. I think if this was in a situation, there we go. It's going down towards the Steenbok. I wonder if it's going to land. Okay, Seb, let's try and see if we can't. There goes the tawny eagle as well now. So tawny's following that marshal. Well done, Seb. That's very well done. Of course, there we go. They're going to both land on top there. Okay, come, Seb. Let's try and see if we can go round, and maybe we'll get lucky with these two birds. This is going to be super cool if they do go down and feed. And, well, our spots will just have to wait for a little bit longer. It's not a guarantee that there are spots anyway, whereas we've got a guarantee that we can see these birds, and maybe they'll come down and feed. So Seb is asking me, Seb from Wendy behind the camera is asking, would these birds feed at night? Well, Seb, these birds potentially could feed at night. I've never witnessed it in my life before, so it would be something really quite interesting to watch, and that's why I want to stay, because I don't know what phase of the moon are we in. Are we going full moon or not? Do you know? Are we new moon? Then in all likelihood I would say no, but given if it was full moon, maybe, but given that it's new moon, I don't think so. I think these birds might be a bit wary of being down in the complete darkness. But let's see. I mean, they've definitely come a lot closer, and they're still eyeing out the carcass itself. So I want to just try and position in a way that we can be far enough that the birds can come down on their own accord, and that they don't feel too threatened, because I'm not going to park like we did earlier, and then maybe, just maybe, they'll actually start to feed, and then from there we can sort of work out what we're going to do. But I'm just going to roll forward either way. No, don't fly. I didn't want you to. No, that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. There goes our martial eagle. It's still chasing a tawny but massive wingspan. Now, I don't think we're going to get this right, Seven. I feel bad because it seems like every time we move, they're moving. But there is a... Is that a nyala or a bushbuck in front of us? No, a nyala male that's walking. Difficult to see in this light, but there goes a young nyala male across as well. For a second there, I thought it might have been a hyena coming towards this steenbok, but with us getting closer to the carcass, you can see both the birds took off and tried to get away from us, so I don't want to keep them away from their hard-earned meal. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just leave the area. As much as I want to see if they feed at night, I'm a bit kind of wary that we're going to chase them away. James, you're asking if the late rains could have influenced the birds' migratory patterns. Well, most definitely, James. It is possible. We might have found a situation where a lot of our migratory birds stayed slightly later than they normally would. In fact, we know that the European rollers were here until really quite late this year, which is quite interesting. And other than that, we've also had a few of the sort of migratory species not leave us. There's been cuckoos that have been around, these mosque swallows. So it is possible, but we are still very dry, so I doubt that it's been made too much of a difference yet. I think at the end of the day, I think it's just a lot of these birds that we're probably seeing are birds that have been born in the summer, and so they are birds that are in their first year of trying to migrate, and it often happens when they're young birds that they end up actually staying in this area. Hang on a second, what was that? Just want to check something on the road quickly. It's just a bush, but it looked like almost a leopard scent marking on the side of the road. So now I believe Taylor says that she's somewhere near Gowrie, Main, and that she can hear them talking about a leopard going northwards, so hopefully it is going to cross. I don't know if Taylor's got any. Somehow thinks she might not have, which is not ideal, because I'm going to have to go through a horrible section where I'm not going to have any signal either to get back towards Gowrie, Main. But what I can do is try and do it very quickly, so if you do see a little black screen for 2 minutes, don't stress. I will be with you in as quick as I can. I'm going to try and drive through the gremlins and chase them away as fast as possible. It's the same little dip that I had to negotiate just now, and so I'm hoping that if I just quickly sneak through it, that we won't have too many issues. So I do apologize if it does break up a little bit, or you get some sort of a black screen in the next few minutes. I promise you it won't be long at all. I've just got to get onto the other side and onto Chitwa Dam wall, and then I'll be absolutely fine. So here we go. We didn't have picture, but hopefully we've got picture again. We've come back onto the dam wall, so thank you for bearing with us. Goods, there we go. So you guys can see us, which is fantastic. There goes a fish eagle, there's Chitwa Dam. Look at the colors in the sky from where we are here. Look at this. Is that not amazing? That is absolutely beautiful. Some of the best colors one could ask for just over the top of this area. There goes a nightjar even flying past on the water. Very pretty. I must be honest, I'm a huge fan of this area. There's also a hippo out the water, Seb, you see that? To our right here. So that's cool. It's this time of the day that the hippos will come out, and the hippos always go up towards the camp at Chitwa, and they go and feed around on the grass there. Oh no, going the other way now. But there it goes, waddling back into the water. jumping away a bit. We've had great hippo sightings today. We've had a hippo out the water. We've had a hippo with his terrapin friends. We've had a bit of yawning, teeth, snorting. And there's our fish eagle. Now, when I was talking earlier about the fish eagle nest, is that it there now that we can see, Seb? I can't remember if that's the exact tree, but I think it is. No, it's not. I can't see the nest anymore. You used to be able to see it very clearly on this sort of left-hand horizon, but I can't see it now. Maybe if I go a bit further forward, we'll be able to find that nest. It used to be visible from here, and well, it's been a while since I worked at Chitwa, so it's changed slightly, nests get destroyed, and things differ. I think there it is now. Now I can see it. Let me just go a little bit more forward, Seb, and you should be able to see it yourself. But it unfortunately doesn't lie inside Chitwa itself. It lies just inside Little Gowrie, as seems to be a lot of other things these days. But let's see. Oof. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. Let's just check if that's still the nest there. No, that's the old nest that I was thinking of. So on that horizon there, Seb, you'll see in the distance there's a clump that's in a tree. Yeah, that used to be where the nest was. You can actually see that's the old nest that's all broken apart now. Or maybe they're busy building a new one. But that's where it used to be, is on that tree over there. So that's all dilapidated. Let me just check. There might be another one being built somewhere else. No, I can't see any other ones at this stage. So maybe they're busy in the phase of rebuilding. But have you seen how many guinea fowl there are in front of us here, Seb? Look at them, all over here, all in the background. It's rush hour in guinea fowl world. Time to get home. Wife's made dinner, got to get home quickly. No passing by at the local watering hole for a drink. And they're all actually going to this big dead leadwood that's in the middle of Chitwa Dam. So that's where they're all heading, is this big tree over here. They're all roosting inside there. So you can't be late, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. And the reason why is because there's predators. So there you go. They're just all finding their little homes and their branches that they sit on. So it's going to be lots of competition for that just now. Right, Seb, let's try to see if we can't go get this leopard, and we don't have much time, so I want to try and get through. Now, I apologize again if you get a little black screen, because it's not going to last long. It should also be a few seconds long, as I just drop down here. Come on, traffic. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to see you. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Here we go. And up the other side. There we go. Now, hopefully that wasn't too bad and we didn't lose you guys for too long, as we now head up the hill again towards Gowrie Main, and then we'll be so there we go. We apologize. Sorry, Seb. Seb would like my lights on, which is probably a good idea, Seb. I wasn't even thinking about lights. I was too worried about gremlins at that stage, but there we go, lights on. Is that better? Yes. Okay, good. Got to keep the cameraman happy, especially when in the keeping things going is exactly, test my knowledge, keeping my brain working. It's always good to have and, well, I tell you what, is we have probably some of the best cameramen in the world, in terms of not only are they good at what they do, but they are incredibly good people. All of our cameramen are really nice guys, and an absolute joy to drive with. And I mean it, Seb, I'm being honest here. It makes our days much easier when we're on the vehicles and we have guys that are like-minded and are very good about what they do and super passionate. And sometimes when you're having, a tough day, that's definitely these guys that help us get through the days and enjoy ourselves on drive. So very underappreciated sometimes, Seb. So there you go. Now we've got somebody in front of us called Peter. So Peter is a ranger in Koro. Hello, Peter.
I bought you a snack, Tristan.
Did you bring me a snack? Thanks, Peter.
Share, okay.
High five.
Thanks, Peter.
So Peter just gave us a snack. Thanks, Peter. Enjoy, bud. Did you hear that update on that ingwe? Yeah? There's an ingwe going north on Little Gowrie towards Gowrie Main. So I was just telling Peter, since he gave us, I don't know what it is, it looks like a little crumb chicken. Seb, are you hungry?
Yes.
Are you hungry? Okay, let's break this in half, Seb. There you go, Seb. There's a bit of crumb chicken for you.
Thank you, Peter.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There we go. That's not bad, actually. Thank you, Peter, from Menkoro.
Very nice.
Now, I do apologize if you can hear me eat. It would have been rude not to have eaten it, and at the end of the day, this is part of what goes on out here, is we build a lot of camaraderie between the rangers by having a bit of fun at times and, you know, doing things for one another, and so that's all part and parcel of it. But he just asked me to keep him updated on the leopard that was going north, so I will definitely do that. Irby, you asking what is my favorite nighttime animal and my favorite nighttime bird? This is tough because, well, leopards are a problem for me. I love leopards, and they are kind of active at night, so, or in fact more at night than during the day. So they're a little bit of, so they're always going to take the cake. But let's get leopards out the way for now and pretend like we're going to do other animals for once. And so I would go with probably pangolin, just because of how rare they are and that I've been fortunate enough to see them, and they've brought me some good fortune in my life and allowed me to go and experience one of the most amazing things in terms of the wildlife photographer of the year. So I would say that I have a debt to pay to pangolins, and the fact that they are so badly trafficked, well, it was nice just to actually give them a bit of exposure in the world sort of scene. So pangolins would be my favorite animal at night. My favorite bird at night, well, I would have to say, as it stands currently, the Verreaux's eagle owl, but that's because I haven't seen a Pell's fishing owl yet. So when I see a Pell's fishing owl, then that will probably change. But Verreaux's eagle owl, big, able to hunt down large animals like jennets and squirrels and guinea fowl and francolins, and they've even been seen with the odd small mammal like a baby. I think they've even been recorded with baby steenbok before, if I'm not mistaken. So they're really powerful, big eyes, and they're massive birds. So those are my favorites. And in fact, owls in general, most of the owl species I really enjoy. So those are my favorite nighttime animal and bird. Yours, Seb?
For bird, I would definitely go with owls as well, giant eagle owl.
So Seb is giant eagle owl for a bird. And mammal, Seb?
Mammals, at night I really like the porcupines. Yeah.
So Seb is a porcupine fan, and a porcupine is a good one, Seb. I like porcupines too. There's something about them, they just...
They're big.
Yeah, and the thing about them, so Seb is saying, is what is amazing about porcupines is just how big they are. So porcupines are much bigger than everybody thinks they are. I've stood next to a few porcupines, and when their quills are out, their quills will come to almost close to my hip high, maybe about mid-thigh. Now that's a big animal in anybody's sort of books. Hosanna, who I know have been quite close to, he comes to about the same height. So that can give you an idea of just how tall a porcupine can be. So they are really cool, and I like their black and white look and their rattle that they make as they walk along. So I hear where you're coming from, Seb. I like a porcupine too. Right, now apparently this is where our ahead of us, so I'm going to get my spotlight out as well and try and see if I can't see anything. Little last minute Tingana would be fantastic. Unfortunately, it seems Taylor's gremlins are winning today, and so she's battling with signal, so you're still stuck with me for a little bit longer. And does it smell like leopard to you, Seb? It smells like leopard to me. Mac, you want to see a genet. Mac, I wonder if you have ever seen a genet. Maybe if you can let our FC girls know if you've ever seen one before, because we do have a genet that we see fairly regularly, but unfortunately we don't see it on our drives. It's in our camp, and it's called Genevieve the Genet. We've named it because we see it most nights, and well, the girls in camp felt like they needed to call it something. And Genevieve is a really very relaxed genet. It just sits and watches you from the tree, and so we do see Genevieve from time to time. Now the problem with Genevieve is that, like I say, she doesn't come out in time for the drive, so I'll try and find a Genet out here, but if I can't find you a Genet out here, I do have a picture of Genevieve that I can show you so that you can at least see what a Genet looks like if you haven't seen one. Okay, so Megan says good idea to show you a picture of Genevieve, so give me 2 seconds because there is a car behind me, so I just want to pull over in a spot that they can come past. But Genevieve is very cool, and the other nights we had Chantal holding a light so Taylor and I could actually photograph her, and hopefully we got some cool photographs. I haven't actually even looked at the photographs properly yet. I just put them on my computer and I took a few photos from my computer itself, so let me try and see if I can't find Genevieve quickly. Let's see. Okay, Genevieve, where are you? She's about as elusive on my phone as she is in real life. Now, I'm not sure if it's a boy or a girl, but we think it is. Right, so here we go. So these are the photos we got of Genevieve the Genet the other night. Oh, there we go. Don't want to set the hoot off. Now, I'm sorry that my screen is a little bit dirty. I unfortunately should have wiped it before I showed you. Hold on, Seb, 2 seconds. We're just going to wipe all the fingerprints off so that you can actually see what's going on. Is that better? Not really. A little bit. Okay, but there we go. So that's what a genet looks like. You can see big large ears, which is very typical of nocturnal animals. Then you've got that white sort of markings under the eyes that are big on a genet, and that allows more light into the eye, and then a little sort of black just to break up that white so that they can camouflage. And then they've got these black bars and stripes that go down their body. So that was Genevieve kind of posing for us a little bit, and we got a few of her. I think there's another one of her face as she was watching us. And there we go. Mr. Acklin, you're asking what really is a genet. Well, a genet is in its own family, really, and it is basically part of... It's almost more related to weasels than anything else, I would imagine. That's probably the most similar animal, but they're in their own family altogether, and it's a nocturnal creature. You do sometimes see them in the daylight, but very seldom, and they'll run around at night, and they hunt things like birds and insects and snakes and scorpions, and they go after a lot of those kind of things. So that's what they really like, mostly, and they're long and slender. I would say if you had to put Genevieve on this dashboard, she would probably start at that side, and her tail would end here. But half of her would be her tail, so this would all be tail going this way, and so she's quite long, very slender, quite stout little legs, and very, very good at climbing trees. They're able to go up trees and all kinds of things, so they're quite an amazing species to watch. I just want to try and get hold of these guys in the east and see if I can't find out an update about this leopard. Peter. Now, Peter's not answering me. He's the only one I seem to be able to talk to on the Eastern Channel at the moment. Wendy's Eastern Channel seems to give us a little bit of trouble every now and then, and so it seems as though he's the only one that for some reason can hear us. And I wonder if that's him that's behind us. I thought he was going to come past, but he's just slowly driving behind us there. Oh, I forgot my spotlights, Seb. Sorry. Look at those colors up ahead of us. Isn't that pretty on the horizon there? I mean, you can just see it slowly peeking out as we go up. Those nocturnal colors, the Belt of Venus as it's known. And the reason why it's called the Belt of Venus is because Venus is the evening star for us in this area, and it appears when the evening star appears, and that's why that coloration is called the Belt of Venus. Now I'm trying to just scan and listen as well. So far I can't hear anybody on the radio, so I don't know if there is a leopard actually even been seen, or if they just heard it calling this way. John, you want me to describe my perfect 3-hour drive? John, this is a difficult one. I would say, for me, it would have to feature a leopard for sure. There has to be a leopard in there somewhere. Ideally, a leopard with these kind of colors in a tree or a full moon behind it. That would be ideal to sort of finish the drive. So the last 45 minutes, leopard in golden light, then followed by a leopard in this with the moonrise after that. So that's that. Okay, let's call it the last hour. So that'll be leopard. Elephants in the same sighting that are around, that I can sit and watch the leopard and the elephants as well. So maybe following the elephants for the middle hour to get to this area, to then be able to see the leopard up the tree with the light and the full moon and all of that. And prior to that, I would say wild dogs on the hunt, trying to chase things, fighting with hyenas after being successful in their hunting. And then to finish all of the 3 hours off would have to be a pangolin walking across the road. Sound fair enough, Seb?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a pretty good drive.
A pretty good drive, I think so too, Seb. One day, you guys all make fun of me, but one day it will happen. I've had the leopard and the pangolin together. I've had the elephants and the leopard together. I've had the wild dogs and the hyenas and the elephants and the leopard in the same drive, but I've never had the pangolin to top it all off, and I haven't had the full moon behind a leopard yet, which I will get. At some point, somewhere, I will get a full leopard with a full moon, and it's silhouetting the leopard. I am convinced of this, and it will happen somewhere. I just need to make it happen. So I'm trying my very best to find a way of doing that. Now, unfortunately, no sign of this leopard coming north. I'm going to try call on the radio one more time. Any station in the east, copy. How's it, Darby? How are you, man? Very well. Has that leopard been located going on Little Gari? Okay, copy that. Thank you very much. Alright, so there we go. So Shadow is south of us, still static, and they just gave me another update. Oh, thanks very much. I appreciate that, Dobby. So it was telling me that Shadow is straight south of where we're sitting right now. Straight south, but quite far, so she's not very close at all. And then there's another leopard that's calling, apparently, coming northwards from Little Gari Camp. Now, Little Gari Camp is pretty much on the Mulawati, but is still quite far down, and so I wouldn't really hold out too much hope of that leopard getting onto our side just yet. The other interesting bit of news is that the Nkuhumas are up and moving and are slowly heading back in a easterly direction towards Djuma. So they are on Simamili Arathusa area. They're still quite far, but they are moving back, and so, well, that's a bit of good news maybe for tomorrow morning. Hopefully the Nkuhuma Pride will grace us with their presence tomorrow morning. That would be spectacular if they did. I really would be quite chuffed if they arrived back tomorrow. It's been so long since I've seen the Nkuhumas, I don't know if I'll even recognize them. Jackie, so you want to know whether it stays lighter here longer in the summertime? Well, yes, Jackie, because where we sit on the point of the Earth and how far south we are of the equator, we have quite a bit of difference between our winter and summer. So our summer, our sun sets at around 7 o'clock in the evenings, whereas now it's setting in the deepest part of winter, because remember, we're now gaining time every day because we've gone past our winter solstice or your summer solstice, depending on where you are in the world, and that means days are now getting longer. And so our winter, sort of deepest part of winter, our sun will set at about, the last little bit of it will just drop down at probably about just after 5. So it's about a 2-hour difference in the evenings, and then the same in the mornings. So we get a sunrise at around 5 o'clock in the morning, and then now in the winter months our sun rises at around sort of 6:45, so 6:30, 7:15, that area. So that's the sort of differences between the summer and the winter. We get about 5 hours more daylight, and our safari times then change too, because, well, you can't be out in the middle of the day in summer because it's far too hot, so we try rather be out in the cooler temperatures around sunset and sunrise when we can get some activity. Here in the winter months, you'll find that the animals are active more throughout the day than they are in the summer. The summer gets far too hot for our animals to really move around too much at all in the middle parts. It's good for elephants and the likes because they go to water a lot, but the cats take a pounding in the summer months. You can imagine with that thick fur coat, it's not easy when it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit or almost 50 degrees Celsius. They really do struggle with that. So, Nancy, you say that your son is leaving you and we're stealing it from you. Well, I must be honest, I'm quite happy that we end up with a situation that we're going to get the sun back. I'm very happy to have some sunshine. I'm a summer person. I don't do very well with the winter at all. So summer is very welcome sight for me, and I hope that it comes quicker rather than later. Now, unfortunately, it's that time to end the drive. It's been a gremlin-filled afternoon, which hopefully will go away tomorrow morning, so that you can see not only myself, but Taylor Jane and James Bond Henry with his eye patch, and I hope that he wears a Dons and a pirate eye patch for the rest of the week, because I think he would make a great good pirate. From myself and Seb, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you all on our sunrise safari, and thank you for joining us.